In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. The galaxy, a vast expanse filled with ancient secrets and endless conflict, harbors races both venerable and terrifying. Among them, the Necrons stand as one of the most formidable, their very existence a legacy of cosmic power and ancient despair. Today we explore the dark origins and tumultuous history of the Necrons, tracing their path from the humble beginnings of the Necrontyr to their rise as the undying lords of the galaxy. Join us as we uncover the saga of betrayal, war, and rebirth that defines the Necrons in the Warhammer 40k universe. Origins of the Necrons. In an age when the galaxy was young and stars were still being born, the Necrontyr lived beneath the harsh light of a volatile star. Their homeworld, racked by severe radiation, was a crucible that shaped them into a people obsessed with the inevitability of death. Their lives were painfully short, marked by illness and decay, which seeded a deep cultural fixation on the afterlife and the preservation of memory. Driven by envy of the eternal stars and a desperate need to escape their morbid fate, the Necrontyr became pioneers in stellar technology, venturing into the cosmos in search of a cure for their mortality. It was during these early voyages that they first encountered the Old Ones, beings of immense power and wisdom who roamed the stars with technologies that bent the fabric of reality. The Old Ones were a stark contrast to the Necrontyr. Where the Necrontyr were bound to short, fragile lives, the Old Ones seemingly possessed immortality, traveling through the webway and mastering the energies of the warp. This encounter ignited a flame of jealousy and resentment within the Necrontyr, who saw in the Old Ones everything they could never be due to their cursed existence. Efforts to forge a peaceful relationship faltered as the envy of the Necrontyr grew into outright hostility. They demanded access to the secrets of immortality, which the Old Ones refused, wary of the Necrontyr's aggressive tendencies and their obsession with death. The refusal deepened the rift, eventually sparking the wars of secession amongst the Necrontyr themselves as they battled over the scraps of their civilization's meager achievements. In a bid to unite their fractured society, the ruling Triarch sought a new enemy against whom all Necrontyr could rally. The Old Ones, with their refusal to share the secrets of eternal life, became that enemy. This marked the beginning of the War in Heaven, a galactic conflict that would eventually lead the desperate Necrontyr to the star gods, the Ctan, and to the fateful decisions that would see them transformed into the soulless, undying Necrons. The tragic story of the Necrontyr's transformation is a tale of a civilization's fall from grace, driven by an insatiable quest for immortality. As we delve deeper into the narrative, we will explore how this quest led to their rebirth as the Necrons, eternal slaves to their own ambition and the cosmic consequences of their actions. The descent into darkness. As the War in Heaven raged, the divided Necrontyr found themselves hopelessly outmatched against the Old Ones, whose command of the warp allowed them to dominate the battlefield. The Necrontyr's desperation reached its zenith, and in their darkest hour, they turned to new, sinister allies, the Ctan, star gods born from the energies of dying stars. These beings of pure energy were ancient even by the standards of the galaxy, having existed since the dawn of creation, hidden in plain sight as unassuming starlight. The Ctan, intrigued by the physical realm and the Necrontyr's plight, saw an opportunity to exert their influence over material beings. The star gods offered the Necrontyr not only the chance at victory over the Old Ones, but also the immortality they so desperately craved. The price, cloaked in deceit, would be their very souls. Desperate to end their existential suffering and to finally claim dominion over the galaxy, the Necrontyr agreed, ushering in the era of biotransference. In vast furnaces that roared louder than the stars themselves, the bodies of the Necrontyr were melted down and reforged into forms of living metal, impervious to age, disease, and the ravages of time. This process, powered by the dark science of the Ctan and directed by their insidious will, stripped the Necrontyr of all that once made them mortal. What emerged from the smoldering ashes of this process were the Necrons, beings of incredible power, each encased in armor of living metal, each once a bearer of a soul, now lost to the void. The transformation was not just physical. The Ctan reshaped the Necrons as their personal army, erasing most of their individuality and bending them to their will. The Silent King, the last ruler of the Necrontyr, retained his consciousness, perhaps a cruel jest by the Ctan or an oversight they would later regret, as he witnessed the transformation of his people into soulless automatons, his heart now a cold fusion core, filled with a silent fury and a calculated resolve for revenge. With their new bodies capable of withstanding the eons, the Necrons, led by the Silent King, initially served the Ctan in their war against the Old Ones. The galaxy trembled as the Ctan unleashed their newly forged weapons. Planets crumbled, stars were extinguished, and the fabric of reality itself was torn asunder by the devastating might of the Necrons. However, the Silent King harbored a secret vendetta to turn the godlike powers of the Ctan against them and free his people from their bondage. As the war in heaven reached a pivotal climax as the newly transformed Necrons, under the strategic guidance of the Silent King, brought the fight directly to the heartlands of the Old Ones. This epoch-defining conflict not only showcased the sheer might of the Necrons, but also the terrifying power of their star god allies, the Ctan. The Ctan, freed from their celestial confines and empowered by the worship and sacrifices of the Necrontyr, were entities of pure energy and malice. Each Ctan manifested its power differently, bending the laws of physics to its will, devouring stars and unleashing energy capable of vaporizing entire planets. The Nightbringer sowed fear and death, reaping souls across countless worlds, while the Deceiver manipulated and turned the allies of the Old Ones against each other with insidious guile. As the war raged on, the very fabric of the cosmos was twisted and torn. The Necrons' relentless advance was characterized by the efficiency and ruthlessness of their campaigns. They deployed weapons that could disrupt planetary cores, turning thriving worlds into barren wastelands. Their mastery over technologies such as the celestial orreries, devices capable of rearranging the stars themselves, posed a dire threat to the structure of the galaxy. The Old Ones, despite their vast knowledge and control over the warp, found themselves outmatched in direct confrontation, forced to rely increasingly on their creations and allies. The Old Ones' desperation led them to create new life forms, engineered to battle the Necrons and the Ctan. Among these were the Eldar and the Krork, precursors to the Orcs. These races brought new dynamics to the battlefield with their psychic prowess and brute strength, giving the Old Ones a temporary edge. However, the continuous warfare and the scale of destruction began to have secondary effects, weakening the barriers between the material universe and the immaterium, leading to the rise of warp storms and the eventual birth of the Chaos Gods. The conflict, while escalating in scale and ferocity, was also a war of attrition and deception. The Silent King realized that despite their technological superiority and the might of the Ctan, the war could not be won by force alone. In a strategic pivot, he began to seek ways to turn the Ctan's insatiable hunger for power against them. This culminated in a daring and desperate plan to fragment the Ctan, using their own voracious energies to shatter them into controllable shards. In a series of devastating betrayals known as the Night of the Falling Stars, the Necrons shattered the Ctan into countless pieces. Each shard was still immensely powerful, but lacked the full scope of their original consciousness. These shards were imprisoned in specially crafted devices known as tesseract labyrinths, designed to contain their energy and bend it to the Necrons' will. With the Ctan shattered and their grip on the Necrons broken, the Silent King surveyed the aftermath of the rebellion. The galaxy was left in ruins, and the Old Ones were on the brink of extinction. Yet, the cost of victory was immense. The Necrons, now free from the Ctan's control, faced a new existential crisis. Their souls were forever lost, and their civilization lay in tatters. The aftermath of the war in heaven left the galaxy scarred and forever changed. The Necrons, victorious but weary of endless war, opted for a strategic retreat to their tomb worlds, initiating a long hibernation to heal and to await a time when they could rise again without the threat of the Ctan. The Old Ones' civilization crumbled, and their engineered races were left to forge their own destinies in a galaxy now rife with dangers both ancient and emerging. This part of Necron history closes with a bittersweet victory, freed from the shackles of the Ctan but at a cost of their very souls. The Necrons retreated to the shadows, waiting for a time when they would awaken and rise again, perhaps to reclaim what was once theirs or to forge a new destiny under the cold, starry skies. Awakening and the modern galaxy. As the millennia passed, the galaxy churned with war, evolution, and the rise and fall of empires. Civilizations unaware of the ancient horrors slumbering beneath their feet reached for the stars, weaving their own histories into the fabric of cosmic destiny. Meanwhile, hidden in the darkness of sealed tomb worlds, the Necrons lay dormant, their vast cities silent, their mighty armadas grounded, until the time came for their reawakening. The awakening of the Necrons was not a singular event, but a gradual process that began in the late 41st millennium, triggered by the encroachment of the living on their tomb worlds, or by internal mechanisms timed to the celestial alignments preordained by their ancient star maps. The Necrons began to stir, one by one, world after world, their tomb complexes powered up, rekindling ancient forges and reactivating dormant armies. The process of reawakening brought with it a reclamation of self for some Necrons, especially those of the nobility, who retained more of their personalities and memories. As the Necrons awakened, so too did the news of their return spread panic across the neighboring regions of space. Initially, these reawakenings were local problems, but as more worlds reported encounters with these undying warriors, a terrifying picture began to form. The Imperium of Man, already stretched thin by myriad threats, found itself facing a new old enemy whose technology surpassed most contemporary understanding. Each reawakened dynasty pursued its own agenda, some seeking to rebuild their empires, others bent on vengeance against the descendants of the old ones, such as the Eldar. The Necrons' advanced technology allowed them to manipulate the very fabric of reality, phase through solid matter, and repair their bodies from the brink of destruction, making them nearly invincible opponents on the battlefield. The Necrons in modern 40K. With their reawakening, the Necrons bring forth technologies that baffle even the most advanced races of the galaxy. Their ability to self-repair, known as reanimation protocols, makes their armies seemingly invincible on the battlefield. Moreover, their mastery of dimensional engineering allows them to transport troops across great distances instantly, and their weaponry, capable of disintegrating matter at a molecular level, poses a grave threat to all. One of the most chilling developments has been the creation of the Perea Nexus. This vast area where the warp is nullified represents a significant strategic shift in the galaxy. Psykers, the lifeline of the Imperium's communication and navigation through the warp, find their powers useless within these zones, crippling fleets and armies unprepared for such a phenomenon. The Nexus not only showcases the Necrons' power, but also their intent to reshape the galaxy's psychic landscape. Intriguingly, the Necrons' interactions with Archimagos Belisarius' call of the Adeptus Mechanicus hint at a complex relationship between the Imperium and the Necrons. Call, known for his unorthodox methods and quest for forbidden knowledge, has shown interest in Necron technology, risking heresy to secure any advantage for humanity. These dealings, while fraught with peril, suggest that even the most ancient enemies might share common ground when facing greater threats. Necron pylons discovered on Cadia before its fall have played critical roles in stabilizing warp storms and even holding back the Eye of Terror. Their strategic deployments across the galaxy hint at a possible defensive network against the forces of chaos, suggesting that the Necrons' long-term plans involve more than mere conquest. The Silent King, once a mythic figure now confirmed to have returned from exile, appears to be orchestrating a campaign of reclamation and dominance. His strategies involve not only military might, but also diplomatic manipulations, as he seeks to unite the fractured Necron dynasties and assert their place as rulers of the galaxy. His return marks a new era for the Necrons, one that could see them ascend from the ashes of their tomb worlds to the throne of the galaxy. The galaxy of the 41st millennium is a turbulent realm, torn asunder by the cicatrix maledictum and beset by endless war. Into this chaos, the Necrons emerge not just as survivors of an ancient past, but as reinvigorated players in the game of galactic supremacy. With every tomb world that awakens, the strategic balance shifts subtly as the Necrons deploy their ancient technologies and inscrutable strategies. As we continue to monitor the unfolding narrative of the Necrons in modern 40K, it becomes clear that their impact will be profound. Their actions will likely dictate not only the survival of their race, but could also determine the fate of the entire galaxy. With ancient grudges to settle and a cold logic driving their campaigns, the Necrons are poised to either save the galaxy or lead it into a new age of darkness. The Silent King's vision and the reversion of biotransference. The ambitions of the Silent King, named Sarek, stretch far beyond the simple reclamation of lost territories or the assertion of dominion over the Milky Way. His true vision, cloaked in the grandeur of redemption, involves the monumental task of reversing the biotransference that once turned the Necrontyr into the soulless Necrons. This Silent King, after centuries of wandering the intergalactic void in self-imposed exile, returned to a galaxy much changed, yet still under the shadow of his ancient decisions. His plan to reverse the biotransference is not merely a response to his guilt over the Necrons' soulless immortality, but a deeply strategic move to restore what was lost. This involves not just the physical forms of the Necrontyr, but potentially their souls, an endeavor that straddles the line between advanced science and metaphysical manipulation. The Silent King believes that with the right technological breakthroughs, the spiritual essence of the Necrontyr could be coaxed back into their restored bodies, effectively resurrecting the species both in body and spirit. The process envisioned by the Silent King would require a convergence of several fields of Necron science, many of which have been lost or forbidden since the days of the Necrontyr. Genetic engineering, temporal science, quantum state manipulation, and soul reintegration are theoretical fields that would need substantial research and development. Central to this effort would be the recovery and repurposing of ancient technologies, some predating even the War in Heaven. Sarek's explorations in the void had led to the discovery of forgotten archives and technologies that could potentially hold the key to reversing biotransference. These include stasis crypts containing pristine Necrontyr genetic material, and ancient artifacts capable of manipulating the fabric of reality at a fundamental level. Reverting to biological forms would reintroduce the Necrons to the vulnerabilities and emotions they escaped through biotransference. How would a race, used to the cold logic and immortality of metal bodies, cope with the resurgence of pain, pleasure, fear, and love? The psychological impact could be as profound as the physical transformation, leading to a renaissance of Necrontyr culture rich with art, philosophy, and potentially strife. The restoration of their mortal forms could also reignite old familial and tribal conflicts that were suppressed under the uniformity of their mechanical existence. Would ancient rivalries and ambitions resurface, leading to internal conflicts, or would the shared experience of millennia of mechanization foster a more unified society? While many Necrons might see the reversion as a return to a golden age, others, particularly those who have gained power and status in their current forms, view Sarek's plan with skepticism and fear. Among these are powerful lords who would lose the most from the reversion, as their current forms grant them abilities far beyond those of organic bodies. This division could lead to a schism within the Necron society, with factions forming both in support of and against the reversion. Such a split has the potential to ignite a civil war among the Necrons, pitting those who desire to embrace their ancient heritage against those who see their current form as the pinnacle of evolution. What might be? The prospect of the Necrons regaining their biological forms and potentially their full range of emotions and cultural expressions sends ripples across the galaxy. Other major powers, already wary of the Necrons' technological superiority, now face a race that could combine emotional drive with cold logic. This could lead to unexpected alliances or renewed hostilities, as factions like the Imperium, Eldar, and even the Tau reassess their diplomatic and military strategies against this changing threat. Factions such as the Eldar, who have ancient grudges against the Necrontyr, might find common cause with other races to preemptively strike against Necron strongholds, aiming to disrupt the reversion process before it can be completed. Conversely, factions like the Tau could see an opportunity to ally with the Necrons, drawn by the potential benefits of their advanced technology and the philosophical implications of their transformation. The Silent King's search for ancient artifacts and lost technologies capable of reversing biotransference may spark a galaxy-wide scavenger hunt. As rumors and intelligence about these technologies spread, other races might attempt to seize them, either to harness their power for themselves or to prevent the Necrons from achieving their goal. This could lead to an arms race, with each major power deploying exploratory and military missions into the most ancient, forgotten reaches of the galaxy. Such expeditions would likely encounter not just Necrons, but also automated defenses, rival exploratory teams, and indigenous threats awakened by the disturbance. One of the most significant strategic assets in the Necrons' arsenal is their ability to manipulate and nullify the warp, as evidenced by the Pariah Nexus. The expansion or replication of such zones could fundamentally alter the nature of warfare and travel in the galaxy, particularly affecting warp-reliant races like the Imperium and the Forces of Chaos. If the Necrons can extend these dead zones, they might create safe havens from chaos incursions and psychic manipulation, potentially offering sanctuary or leverage against other races. However, the widespread deployment of such technology could also lead to a fracturing of the galaxy, with isolated pockets cut off from the warp, dramatically affecting communication and unity among the Imperium's far-flung territories. Understanding that his plans might provoke galaxy-wide alarm, the Silent King may undertake a series of diplomatic initiatives aimed at assuring other races of the benign nature of his intentions. These initiatives could range from peace treaties to offering technological aid against common foes, such as the Tyranids or Chaos. Such overtures would be fraught with suspicion and intrigue, as the Silent King must navigate the complex interstellar politics of the 41st millennium, where trust is scarce and betrayal is common. His diplomatic maneuvers would need to be as strategically astute as his military campaigns. Should the Silent King succeed in his grand endeavor, the galaxy could witness the rise of a new Necrontyr empire, one that blends the technological prowess of the Necrons with the renewed cultural vibrancy of their original selves. This could lead to a golden age not seen since the days before the War in Heaven, with the Necrontyr emerging as a dominant cultural and technological force. Alternatively, failure could result in catastrophic setbacks for the Necrons, potentially leaving them vulnerable to their many enemies. The galaxy could see the fragmentation of their empire, as internal conflicts and external pressures combine to thwart the Silent King's vision. As we conclude this exploration of the potential future scenarios stemming from the Silent King's plans, it becomes clear that the outcome of this monumental undertaking could redefine the galactic landscape in profound ways. Whether through renewed conflict or transformative alliances, the Necrons' quest to reclaim their lost heritage will undoubtedly shape the destiny of countless worlds and species across the stars.
Like and subscribe.